So I tried to do a review of Zack Snyder's Justice League with no spoilers, and it was about 3 seconds long and really boring. So instead, I'm just going to tell you everything that happens. So if you don't want spoiled on this movie, don't watch this review. Zack Snyder's Justice League. Let's talk about it. First, I want to say that apart from this movie, I saw him do something on social media that really honked me off. I'm trying to think of a nice way to say it. But I will discuss that at the very end. I want to take the movie as it is first. And what I want to do is kind of just give you a rundown of how the movie goes. So I think most people I know did see the theatrical version of Justice League, the Joss Whedon version. I liked that version. I did. I'm what's considered a normie in that I don't really read a lot of comic books. I have nothing against comic books. In fact, the ones I have read, I really like, but that's just not my area. So what I know about comic books, superheroes, I know from movies and TV shows, which makes me a normie. It's okay. I don't mind. But that I grew up watching like Wonder Woman with Linda Carter and Justice League cartoons and that kind of thing. So, you know, what I know is just what the average person knows. And so I liked the first Justice League. But I was excited for Zack Snyder's release just because of, if nothing else, all the fan hype and the people that I knew of that were pushing for the Snyder cut. I respected their opinions. So I'm like, well, you know, I'm interested to see at least. And then when I saw the trailer for the 4-hour cut, I was like, this looks like a whole different movie. So let me just start out by saying, yes, there are similarities, but basically I think you should just look at the Snyder cut as a different movie. It really is a different movie. And frankly, overall, it is a much better movie. So let me tell you about the movie. I made notes because it was a long movie and I couldn't remember everything. So again, I'm getting ready to spoil the crap out of this. So if you do not want spoiled on this, now is the time to look away. The movie starts off with a recap of the ending of Batman vs. Superman, in which Batman is being gored by Doomsday and he's like screaming in pain, ah! And it like ripples out all over the place, which this went on for a long time. It's very important to the plot. But as somebody who was like, it's, 7 o'clock on a Thursday night and I have to work tomorrow and I know this movie's 4 hours, I was like, how long is he going to scream in pain? I mean, I watched that movie. It didn't seem like it went that long. That's fine. It's really important. So you see that like wave rippling out across the world. And this is where you see these metal boxes kind of being affected by that wave. One is with Victor or Cyborg, which we haven't met yet. One is with the Atlanteans and one is with the Amazonians or Amazons. Amazons. We're going to go with Amazons. This movie is broken up into, let me look, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, like chapters and then an epilogue. It's a long movie. It was 4 hours. So part 1 is called Don't Count on It, Batman. And it starts off with Batman going to find Aquaman. I actually like Ben Affleck as Batman. I do. I don't care for a lot of his personal views and he gets on my nerves, but as a person, I don't know him in real life, so I don't know. But his acting, I like him. I liked him as Batman. I thought he was actually well cast. The internet broke when they announced he was going to be playing Batman. And I was like one of that same 4 people that liked the Batman versus Superman that was like, I think he's going to do a good job. And he has not let me down. I think he's actually done a very good job. But he's traveling over hill and dale to this very remote, like very cold, wintry fishing town that can only be reached by boat certain times of the year. But they're all like, oh, he showed up from nowhere. And so he walks into the bar. He's like, I need to talk to the man that comes on the tide and saves people. Basically, he's looking for Aquaman. And Aquaman is standing there. And he's like, oh, I don't know what you're talking about. And eventually, of course, he shoves enough money at them that the guy's like, yeah, okay, I'm Aquaman. What do you want? Well, there's war coming. And I need your help. I need you to join my team. And Aquaman's like, nah. And Batman's like, well, you know, Superman, he fought next to me and he died fighting with me. And Aquaman's like, that's not a convincing argument. And I myself was also like, I don't think that's the tact you want to go, Batman. Like, somebody died working with me. Don't you want to do it too? No, I don't. So anyways, then he takes his sweater off and he jumps into the water and swims away. Now is another place. This is one of the first places where I went, what? Because one of these really pasty, pale blonde ladies walks up and picks up a sweater. And she's smelling it. And then they start singing this weird song. And that song goes on and on and on. It makes no sense. It has no bearing on the story. It does not come back. Why do we need this song? I don't know. I was very disturbed by the song. And I'm a music lover. And I was like, what is happening right now? So the song goes on. Whatever. He's gone. So then the next thing we see is that Superman's mom, Martha, like Batman's mom, Martha, she's losing her house. She's getting foreclosed on and she's packing up and leaving. And then you see Lois Lane and you find out she's been going to his monument every day with coffee. She gives coffee to a cop and then she goes and stands there and he's like, man, you never miss a day. She's like, I like it here. And I'm like, that's really depressing. Whatever. That's what makes her happy. So then there's a bank robbery in London. And this is the first time you see Wonder Woman. And Wonder Woman stops the bank robbery in quite spectacular fashion. The fight scene in the bank is a lot more brutal in the Snyder cut than in the original. Now, while I think it was drawn out a little longer than it needed to be, I kind of enjoyed it. I don't know what it says about me. I have a review of Doom, by the way, that will also speak to how this is probably not something good about my personality, but I really like that she just walked in there and walloped everybody, which everybody loves that. But like, she is literally like punching a guy and he goes flying toward the kids who are being held hostage because there's a bunch of kids on a field trip in the bank today, which seems like a boring field trip, but whatever. And so he almost flies into them. So she grabs him and throws him the other way and he goes flying into the wall. And there's like a big blood spot on the wall where his head cracks against the wall. And I was like, like, I don't know what that says about me, but it was pretty awesome. But it was also like at the end of the fight when she finally kind of defeats the bad guy there, she does her whole thing and he is like blown away out of the window in front of these kids. And I mean, he got what he deserved. I didn't feel sorry for him or anything. I felt a little sorry for the kids. Like, that had to be a traumatic day. And then one little girl doesn't get up. And so she comes over and she's like, are you okay? Are you okay, princess? And she's like, can I be like you someday? And Diana says, you can be anything you want. And I'm thinking, no, she cannot be you. You literally are the daughter of Zeus and some other Amazon lady. She cannot be like you. Let's be realistic. She can do amazing things, but whatever. Dreams. The movie goes to the Amazons fighting Steppenwolf because the box is kind of starting to wake up and then it goes dark and one goes, oh, maybe it's going back to sleep. And the queen is like, evil never sleeps. I'm like, okay. And then there was a really, really BA moment here though, in which Steppenwolf appears with his parademons and they're all flying around and they're good around the box, which by the way, you don't really know is the mother box yet, but we'll get to that. And he's like, I will feed on your fear. And I loved. The queen said, daughters of Themyscira, show him your fear. And they say, we have no fear. That was pretty cool. I was like, that's right, get him. And then they fought and it didn't go well for the Amazons, but those are some serious people. Like, that was pretty cool. It was good. How's that for a real detailed review? I gotta say here too, there was a lot of loss of life here. That was a little disturbing. And I'm like, oh yeah, it's Snyder. So, we gotta let a lot of innocent people go. Steppenwolf's weird toe feet. Like, I don't know, they bothered me. When he was like flying through the air, you could see his feet were like this. I was like, ooh. I don't know why that is something that bothered me, but it really did. So part 2 was called The Age of Heroes. Steppenwolf has set up his shop in Russia. It's pretty much deserted because there's been some kind of nuclear meltdown or something there. But he's like, oh, yes, the radiation, I'll feed on it. Yay. So then he says, I got to find these other 2 boxes, because he gets away with the box from the Amazons. And that was really devastating because, like I said, there was a lot of loss of life there that was pretty sad. Then he's like, okay, well, I'm going to keep looking. And then we go see Cyborg's dad, who's a scientist with Star Labs. He's at work and he's like, oh, I work at this alien test ship. And it's the ship that crashed from Man of Steel. And him and the janitor have a moment of banter, I guess, to show that, the scientist dude works there all the time, never goes home. And then somebody breaks in and abducts people. So then it goes back to the Amazons get the arrow of Artemis and they shoot it lit so that it would go to the world of men and let them know an invasion's coming. And the one character says, the world of men won't remember. It's been thousands of years. They won't remember what this means. And she says, she will. Diana sees it. She goes, it's like a temple, ancient temple in Greece. And Diana goes there. She gets the arrow. She's like, there's writing on this. There's an arrow. And then she goes into some hidden chamber and finds this mural about the mother boxes and Darkseid and Steppenwolf and all that, which we're going to have explained to us further in the movie. But this I want to note. Out of all the crazy, unbelievable things that happened in this movie, one of the things I found the most distracting was the fact that Diana does everything in high heels. In this scene, she's wearing like a pencil skirt and a smart little suit. She looks fantastic. I'm jealous all day, but I'm like, she's wearing these stiletto heels. She's in this white outfit with these white heels, and she jumps down into this cave, and it's obviously like, because it was her superpowers that can stand that jump, because she jumps down very far, and you hear like whonk, when she hits. Those heels are just fine. I'm like, okay, I can take that she's the superhero with the blood of Zeus in her, and so she can handle that, but I don't think those stiletto heels would have survived that. Why that's something that bothered me, I don't know, but it bothered me. Then Aquaman, he goes down to Atlantis and he kind of sees this statue of the king and he's all mad. But he sees the trident. So this other dude shows up. He's like an advisor to the royal family or something. And he's like, you're supposed to be king. And like, take up your mother's trident. And he's like, I don't want to be king. And he leaves. So I'm like, okay, he's kind of a whiner. And then we go back to Steppenwolf in his stronghold. And this melty thing turns into the representative of Darkseid, who's like, hey, give me the skinny, what's happening? Did you get all the boxes? And Steppenwolf's like, no, but I'm going to. I found one. And the guy's like, well, good, keep at it. We'll see ya. And then he's gone. So then Diana visits Bruce. And he's like, I gotta find everybody because battle's coming. And she's like, it's already here. Oh, it's very dramatic. And then she's like, let me tell you a story. So evidently, Darkseid is this powerful being that has conquered all these worlds using these mother boxes. There's 3 of them, and their technology is so advanced that they look like magic. And once the 3 boxes unite together, they can basically reshape a world and turn everybody on the world into these parademons, which are what we've already seen flying around everywhere. And so he came to Earth, and all the powerful beings on Earth worked together to fight him. So you had the Amazons, you had the Atlanteans before they went into the water, under the sea, and then you had the old gods, and then you had men. and they all teamed up, and normally they wouldn't trust each other, but they had to team up. And this was very cool. This scene was really awesome. It was so much fun to watch. And there was a Green Lantern there, so that was really interesting. I know that again, I don't know the source material as well, but even I was like, oh, look at there, that's pretty cool. And then they had Ares and Zeus, and I think it was Artemis. And I gotta tell you, I can understand why Diana's mom made some bad decisions with Zeus. I mean, hello. I wasn't sad watching that scene. And they beat Darkseid back, and it's amazing. And they actually do some damage. In fact, it's mainly Ares that does real damage. And in their haste to escape, he and his people leave the mother boxes there, and they had not had a chance to synchronize and unite and become the unity and take over the world. So the people who fought were like, well, let's split them up and hide them, and each one of us will be tasked with protecting them in case he ever comes back. So men buried theirs. They each put them in like a case. Men buried theirs. The Atlanteans took theirs down into Atlantis and put a constant vigil around it. The same thing with the Amazons. They had you would know from the scene earlier when Steppenwolf got the first mother box that they had just a whole building set up to do nothing but to enshrine this mother box and protect it. They don't know why the boxes have started to wake up, but the boxes have woken up, and that's what brought Steppenwolf. Okay, so that takes us to part 3. Beloved mother, beloved son. Now we get to see the daddy issues. So Barry Allen is Flash, and you meet him applying for a job at some kind of dog kennel place. He sees a wreck. He saves the girl in the car, and it's all slow-mo. She's real pretty, and at one point he's even just touching her hair as she's flying out of the car, and he's saving her. But everything around him, the whole world is slowed down because he's moving so fast. And I get it, but I was like, barf, this is just so it was so sweet. Ugh. We cut back to the parademons beating the crap out of some Atlanteans to try to get information about where their mother box is. This was the beginning of my nightmares because Steppenwolf uses some mechanical spider-like thing to get into the guy's brain and get information, because the guy's like, I'll never tell you, no daughter or son of Atlantis would ever tell you. And he's like, you don't have to, this not your decision. And then that thing crawls on him and and I'm telling you, I hate spiders so much that was nightmare. I don't like that part. Okay. My note actually here says, I will have nightmares forever. It was disturbing. So then we go back and we see Lois, and she's just going through some old stuff and putting away her press pass and all that. It's sad. Then we're back to Cyborg, and it's kind of his backstory. His dad is missing his football games, and he works all the time, but he's at this really pivotal football game, and he makes this great play, and he looks up in the stands, and everybody's going crazy. He looks up in the stands, and his mom's there, and the seat next to her is empty. Basically, the idea is his dad's never there, and his mom's like, well, he's very proud of you. He just doesn't show it very well. And he's like, don't make excuses for him. Oh, I'm mad at dad. And then they're in this big car wreck, and the mom is killed in the car wreck, and Victor is basically like a torso with only one arm. I mean, it's pretty sad. And in his desperation, the dad takes the mother box and uses it to save his son, which turns him into the Cyborg. Cyborg was treated much, much better in the Snyder Cut. Really, in all the characters, really, you do get a lot more of the characters. The new characters, you get more backstory. Cyborg, you get a lot of story, and I really liked it. And Cyborg was a character that in the original movie, in the theatrical release, I didn't like him that much. He was okay, but it's just because his character wasn't given enough backstory and time to develop. So I really, really enjoyed Cyborg a lot better in this particular, in the Snyder Cut. There is a part in which the father has recorded himself telling Victor what he can do now. Like, as a scientist, let me explain to you all the stuff you're going to be able to do. You can do all this stuff, but some of the challenge is going to be making yourself not do it. Just because you can doesn't mean you should. Fair enough. But there is a part where he is kind of into the internet and looking at this woman's bank account and looking at her through all these cameras, like traffic cameras and stuff. And she's a single mom. She's having a really rough time. And he helps her out by giving her money in her bank account and calling it some kind of gift from the bank. And that actually might have made my eyes tear up a little bit. That was actually very sweet. That's the kind of stuff we really needed in that theatrical release that we didn't get with Cyborg. So that's part of why I didn't like him. He just seemed like cold and blah. Whereas in this one, you can see he actually has a heart. Yes, he's got daddy issues and he's angry, but there is a nice guy inside there. So that was nice. And then we see the other daddy issue character back to Barry Allen. He's at the prison visiting his dad, who's like, you got to forget about me. Stop coming here. Stop doing all these random jobs. You got to get a real life, blah, blah, blah. And Barry Allen's like, well, I don't want to. So that's basically in that scene. He's like living in like an abandoned warehouse or something and converted it. And it's really cool on the inside. And he goes there and Batman is waiting there for him. And he's like, hey, I need you to join my team. And Barry's like, cool, where do I sign up? Because I'm tired of being by myself. I was like, I was willing to buy that. When Barry says to Bruce Wayne, what's your superpower? He says, I'm rich. I'm like, that's what I've always thought about Batman. Switch back to the Bat Lair, and Wonder Woman gets a message from Victor, Cyborg, saying, meet me here right now. So she goes to meet him, and he shows up, and they have this conversation in which he kind of talks about not really wanting to be found. And she's like, well, then why did you come here? You must be trying to get out of this funk or you wouldn't have met me. And he's like, whatever. And he flies off. It was kind of weird. Then it shows Cyborg like burying the mother box at his own grave. Now this started me thinking. So obviously his dad saved him with the mother box using experimental technology. And that was very secretive. And Victor has a grave. So he faked his own death. So here's where my mind went. Well, how did they do that? Did he sneak him out of the hospital? Did he take him out AMA? How did that happen? So, I mean, most places, you can't just dump a body somewhere, even if they died of natural causes. I mean, you have to properly dispose of a body, and that would be illegal. Just take them and dump them somewhere. Like so how did they get somebody to, did they bury an empty casket? And how did they make that happen? And then did he pay somebody off? How did this work? I always think that when people have faked their own deaths. How? Not that I want to do it or something. It just boggles my mind. So then the dad is back at the lab experimenting, and he gets kidnapped by parademons. Then the commissioner puts up the bat signal because he's like, I don't know what's going on. And this description of these parademons actually looks like Batman. So I guess I better find out what's going on. So he puts up the bat signal. So it cuts back to Atlantis. And okay, so this cracked me up. When the Atlanteans talk, like genuinely talk, they open up this bubble in underwater to create a little sphere that they can talk in and talk like normal. And their hair is all wet. They're wet. Okay, great consistency there. When they're not in that bubble, they do like this dolphin squeaking eel, like talk to each other. And I don't know why. I just thought it was the goofiest thing. It makes sense, actually. But I was like, okay. And, I think her name is Mira. Like, the Atlantia chick lady is like, yee! And the person's like, yep, I'm on my way. Off he goes. I guess if you're Atlantean fish people, you know how to understand that language. That was just weird. But it just struck me as funny. Steppenwolf comes for the mother box. There's a fight. Aquaman is not able to fight Steppenwolf off well enough, and he gets the mother box and takes off. By the way, Jason Momoa's hair just looks fabulous underwater. It's just silky smooth, beautiful. Part 4 is called Change Machine. So I told you that the bat signal was up. So Batman, Wonder Woman, and Flash meet Commissioner Gordon, and they talk about the kidnappings, and they are trying to figure out what's going on. And Cyborg just drops in. They're like, 7 people have been kidnapped. He's like, 8 now because of my dad. Dad. And then he is like, oh, I figured out the pattern. It's underwater. They're under Gotham Harbor in some tunnels. And they're like, cool, let's do this. We see them, the people being held underwater, and that stupid spider nightmare thingy came out while Steppenwolf was interrogating somebody again. And I, restarted the nightmares for me. Thank you very much. So there's a lot of fighting here, which was a great scene. I really enjoyed Wonder Woman in this sequence. And there was a part where she's fighting, and she literally like jumps over Steppenwolf, and there's this cool slow-mo action where she's like literally flying over his head, and you see her kind of upside down and fighting. It was just really well done. I really enjoyed that. They get the people out safely, and at some point they end up at the bottom of the tunnel, and Steppenwolf's like, dude, I'm out of here. You just fired a missile at me, and I'm going to take that missile and shove it up, and then there's going to be a big explosion. And Barry says, what's above us? And they're like, Gotham Harbor. And so here comes the water, and in pops Aquaman. And I saw another reviewer say, well, was he just like hanging out there? How did that happen? And I hadn't thought about it till then. And I'm like, well, yeah, he kind of would have had to just be standing out there going, I'm going to wait till this opens up and then I'm going to swim in there. Anyway, he shows up in there, and just as the water would have washed them all, drowned them all, he stands there with his trident and he stops the water, but he's struggling with it, and at this point, Wonder Woman's just standing there watching. I'm like, why is she just standing there? Get in the thing. Get in the Nightcrawler or whatever it's called. The Batmobile on drugs with legs. But she does eventually, and they escape. So Steppenwolf leaves without the mother box, and he's given this vision that on the Earth is written this anti-life equation. Now, at first it doesn't say, oh, it's the anti-life equation. It just shows him seeing this and going, oh, and it looks like a giant, like, tribal tattoo on the Earth. I mean, it's really kind of what it reminded me of. It's like when people have like tribal tattoos on their arms and stuff, and you don't know really what it means. And I'm like, what does that mean? In this case, it's the anti-life equation, whatever that is. He's like, cool. And so he tells Darkseid's representative. The dude is like, all right, well, you suck, but at least you found this. That's good. And I thought, okay, so anti-life will kill everything, and Darkseid wants to use it. Sounds a lot like Thanos. Just saying. So we get back to the warehouse, and then Victor talks more about the mother box that was used to create him as he is as a cyborg, which is good backstory. Then they talk about Superman, and they figure out that his death is what woke up the mother boxes, because it's like, well, the mother boxes have been here all this time and they never woke up. And in fact, Victor's dad even used the mother box to restore him, and that didn't call out to Steppenwolf. What caused him to wake? Well, it was the death of Superman, because they were afraid of the Kryptonians. They were afraid of Superman. So like, well, we got to get Superman back. We cut to Martha visiting Lois, and Martha says, she tells her I've been evicted, and Lois says, well, you can stay here. And she's like, no, I'm fine. And there was here a very tender moment where Martha is talking to Lois and saying how much it hurts that she misses Clark so much, and she's so proud of him and what he did, but she can't talk about it with anybody because she can't let them know that Clark Kent was Superman. And that actually genuinely tugged at my heart. As somebody who's lost family members, that was, those regrets of things you can't do. And in her case, compounded by the fact that it was a secret, so she couldn't really share it. I know that being able to talk about loss in my life has been very helpful. So that actually did, another kind of teared up at that moment too. It was another little bit of a tearjerker moment. And Lois just looks so, Amy Adams did a really good job. But here is one of my biggest gripes with this movie. That moment was a really good and touching moment. And then it's completely undercut because the minute Martha walks out into the hallway, she morphs into some kind of shapeshifter who's like, the world needs you too, Lois, more than you know. And then he walks off, and it's like the general guy from Batman versus Superman and Man of Steel. And I was like, so that wasn't Martha saying all those really touching things about Superman? I mean, it just really ruined that moment. And yeah, after seeing some stuff that happened in real life in social media right before this, or like right when this came out, I'm like, yep, Zack Snyder knows how to kill a moment. So good job. All the King's Horses is the name of part 5. And it starts with them exhuming Superman, which is creepy. And they're like, Barry says to Victor, we could do this like in a nanosecond. He's like, yeah, I know. I mean, I guess they thought it was more respectful to take their time digging him up. I'm thinking imminent war is coming. You do not have the advantage. Probably, I don't think Superman would be too cheesed off at you digging him up fast. Oh, okay. Then Victor's dad gets out of quarantine, and then there's a pretty extensive buildup to going to actually get into the alien ship so they can put Superman's body into the brown, gross goo of the inside of the ship that Lex Luthor had used to make Doomsday. I mean, it was gross. I just wanted to take a shower. Ugh. So, but they got to get in there, and they got to dump his body in there and use the mother box to jumpstart, bring life back to him. Right in the middle of like all this craziness going on, it cut back to Lois waking up in bed by herself and kind of reaching out onto, Clark's pillow, and he's not there, and she's just sad, and she opens up her dresser, and then she goes and takes a pregnancy test, which then you see nothing about. But obviously, if she's taking a pregnancy test, there's a reason we're seeing that. In the morning, they show her getting coffee and going out to the monument for her daily thing, and she's kind of like, it's probably going to be the last time. Like, I've got to move on with my life. Again, let me go back to them in the spaceship with yucky, brown, crappy water. And then as they're getting ready to revive Superman, the ship gives Cyborg like a vision. And it's a very dark vision of basically a lot of bad things happening. And the end of the world, and Superman being bad, and Darkseid winning. And they're all like, this is a bad idea, don't do it. And, Batman being Batman is always like, do it. And so they do it anyway. And the ship says, how does it say this? The future is set in motion or cannot be undone. I don't know. It says something like, well, y'all started it. Good luck. Superman comes back, and they're all like, oh, he's back. Great. But Aquaman's like, he is super cray. What is wrong with him? And of course they have that really epic battle scene right here where Superman doesn't remember who he is. He's confused, and Cyborg's automatic defense systems like kick in, and he starts shooting at Superman, and he can't make himself not do it. And so they start fighting, and just when you think he's getting ready to really lay out Batman, Lois shows up. We knew she had to be there for a reason, right? And she's like, stop. And then she's like, let's just go. And they fly off. I liked that Batman did not bring her, as in the theatrical release, she was the big guns that he went to go get. And he shows up with her. And he's like, see, you know who you are. Here's your girlfriend. In this one, it wasn't. I liked that was not the case, because I always thought that was a little heartless of Batman. What if Clark really didn't remember who he was, and he still stayed super cray and he killed Lois Lane? That would be pretty awful. But this was more, she happened to be there, and so he takes off with her, and they're like, great, well, that worked. But then Steppenwolf shows up to take the mother box. Cyborg's dad, this is important because it's going to give us some more daddy issues to deal with. So Cyborg's dad grabs the box. He goes running into the science lab. The lab, I guess. It's all sciencey. He takes it in there, and he, with a machine, and uses the machine to supercharge the mother box, which we know he can't destroy it. But the idea is he tags it basically so that they'll be able to find it. But while doing so, he ends up having to sacrifice himself and he dies. And Cyborg sees it. It's terrible. It's sad. And Steppenwolf still gets the box and he takes off. And Aquaman's like, well, this is our fault that he's dead. I told you it was a bad idea. Like, he's kind of a negative Nelly through the whole freaking movie, right? And Cyborg's the one that's like, oh, he heated it up. Now we can find it. We'll be able to find it. And if we can find it, I can get in there and I can break it up and, make those things not work anymore because I'm made of the same material or whatever. And they're like, cool, let's do this. It was a sad moment, by the way, when Cyborg's dad sacrifices himself. That was actually sad. Although I'm still kind of like, why did he have to be he had a remote for the thing? So I'm not really sure why he had to be in the room and get zapped up like that, but okay, whatever. It's because Aquaman here is again like, man, Superman is soups cray cray and this is bad. And Batman's like, no, he's coming back to himself. He recognized Lois. He knows who he is. And actually my note here said at this point, I'm wondering when Aquaman is going to start finally being right about something. Still wondering. So part 6, coming to the climax now. Something Darker is the name of part 6. Superman and Lois show up at the repoed farm and they have some discussion about how he loved it there. And she's like, oh, you remembered being here? And he's like, yeah. I liked here that Superman took a little bit longer to kind of remember himself. Like, he saw Lois and he started to remember, hey, she's important. Maybe I don't want to fight everybody. I got to think this through. And just while he's out at the farm, he starts to remember things. And I liked that it took him a hot minute here to start remembering things and come back to himself, as opposed to the Whedon cut where he's just like, hey, the farm, I'm good. Let's do this thing. And then he just shows up. So they don't know, however, what's going on with Superman. So like, well, we still got to go attack. We got to stop Steppenwolf. He's got all 3 mother boxes. He's going to kill everything. So let's just do this. So they come up with a plan. What they're going to try to do is get in there, get in through the outer shell of the dome or whatever, and knock out the defenses, and then let Victor get really close. And Barry Allen is going to have to run super fast and then shove him into the mother boxes. Now, I thought this was kind of strange. Like, it just was strange. But okay, sure. Ratchet up the tension, I guess. Barry Allen's like, well, you have to think this guy has fought hundreds of thousands of worlds, and he must have defeated them all because he's still here. What makes a difference when he fights us? Or, how do we think we're going to win? And Batman's like, because he's never fought us. Not us united. My reaction was kind of like, oh, y'all gonna die. But okay, sure. So then we're back to Superman in the cornfields. And then his mom shows up and they're all reunited. They're happy. And then all of a sudden he goes, well, they must have brought me back for a reason. So I better go find out what it is. Okay. This part really made me laugh, though. So she says, Clark, his mom, Clark, is it really you? And he's like, it's really me, Ma. And I was like, it just does really sound like he's saying, it's me, Ma. I'm me, Ma. And it was funnier when I heard it. It really did make me laugh. It's really me, Ma. Me, Ma. Okay, sorry. So I go back to the lair. They're still getting ready to go, and they're thinking things through, and Aquaman's like, we're putting a lot of pressure on Victor, and he just watched his dad die. Feels like maybe this isn't a great idea. Thanks for that, Aquaman. Again. So back at Shay's Steppenwolf, Pugface. Okay, I have here Pugface starts the unification process. Pugface is Steppenwolf. Okay, so I should have mentioned that like way early on in the recap, that Steppenwolf has like this flat face. And it just bugs me. It bugged me in the theatrical release. It also bugged me in this version. Like flattened pug face. Anyway, so he's starting that. The boom is heard around the world. Okay. Everybody's like, oh, heard it. Heard it. What's happening? Then we see Superman back in his ship, and he's just walking through the ship, and so now we're back to some more daddy issues, because as Superman is walking through the ship, here's Pa Kent on one side, and you hear him saying all the stuff he said in the other movies, and then you have Pa L and all the stuff he said. And as he's walking through, he's hearing them both over and over, all the different stuff they've said to him throughout his whole life. And he walks past his dad's armor, and he walks past his armor, and he comes up to this black Superman suit. And he's like, hey, yeah, I want the black Superman suit. So he puts that on, and he goes. Now, this whole time, I'm still thinking, could you hurry up a little bit? I mean, he's got all three boxes. He just needs to unify them, and we're all toast. So maybe you want to show a little oomph, move it along. Let's go. They make their attack on Steppenwolf, and Batman just basically shoots missiles at the dome until he makes a hole big enough, long enough for him to just zip through, and then he takes out the tower, and it goes down, and everybody's like, okay, let's go in and do our thing. There's lots of the Batmobile and crazy driving with parademons here, and basically implication is that Bruce is getting ready to basically sacrifice himself so everybody can get in and fight Steppenwolf and his team, but they still help him out, even though it's not as big of a moment as in the theatrical release, which I always thought was a little dumb, frankly. So I was like, well, that's pretty cool. This is a really good sequence, in my opinion. It was like I knew that they were going to win, because it's the Justice League, and it was obviously going to start a Justice League universe for DC the way they were, I think they were hoping to rival Marvel, not do the same thing necessarily, but rival Marvel. I mean, they've been kind of rivals forever. And so I felt like this was going to launch them into a lot more movies and a bigger overarch, because now we've got Darkseid and all that. So, I know they're not going to lose, but this was actually done in a way that I felt some tension here. I actually was like, they could lose. They actually could lose. And even though I know the movie's not going to end that way, I felt like there was some stuff at stake here. And I didn't know what would happen to the character. You could always lose a character, although in superhero movies, that typically doesn't last, but still. Barry is running around Shay Steppenwolf to build up all this energy and force so that he can knock Victor into the Unity. And but there's so much fighting happening inside that he can't ever get there right in the right place for Barry to get to him. And then Barry ends up getting shot, not mortally wounded, but it knocks him out of his speed run, and then he's got the wind knocked out of him, and he's injured, and now they're missing their window. And even though Superman has finally showed up, he is their plan has kind of gotten thwarted, and they lose. The Unity combines, and it starts to destroy everything. Now, Barry is far enough out that he sees all of this happening, but I did not actually see that coming. I thought, well, Superman's there. They'll get it going somehow, but they don't. And so everybody starts, basically it's killing everybody. And Barry Allen is like, okay, I can do this. I just have to run faster than the speed of light, and it'll literally turn back time. I'm going to break my own rules. I'm going to do this. And he starts running. And I loved this. I did not like in the old Superman where Lois Lane got killed and Superman lost his crap and went so fast he turned time back by spinning the world. But I never liked that. But this I liked, because it's as Barry was running, the time and everything was just rolling back with him. It's he was running so fast it literally was just pulling time with him. It was really well done. I enjoyed it. And then he had to make some monologue about his dad. I'm like, really? Felt like needed to talk to your dad, because we never thought about dads in this movie. Just saying. But it was good. I liked that. So he reverses time, and because he's able to reverse time, and then he's able to be in the right place at the right time and shove Victor into the Unity. Cyborg is in the box, and some crazy weird mental judo happens between Cyborg and the 3 Unities. The mother boxes is one. It was really kind of weird. He's able to work through the mental judo, and succeed. And he's coming out of the boxes. And as he is, he's like, Superman, help me. And they get the boxes pulled apart. And then everybody takes a swing at Steppenwolf. And I enjoyed this. Basically, they all gang up on him and kill him. And as he is being beaten back, the portal is opening for Darkseid to show up, because he was like, when you get them all, I'll come there. Now I know the anti-life equation is there. So the portal is opening up, and just as Wonder Woman has taken this running leap and cuts off Steppenwolf's head, and so his head and his body roll into the portal separated. And once again, my dark humor, I was like, huh. And I actually thought, take that, you jerk, for all the bad things you did to the Amazons and said about the Amazons. You deserve that. But I saw somebody else review that, and they were like, I don't know how I feel about that. And I was like, heck yeah. Cut off his head. That's probably not my most peaceful and loving. It's a movie, okay? It's a movie. We can be goofy about a movie like that. So they win. And then the Justice League United gets back on their little ship and goes home. And then we get the epilogue, which there was a lot crammed into this epilogue, but it's kind of the stuff you'd expect. Bruce, Alfred, and Diana go into this big hall on Wayne Estates, and he's like, oh, this is huge. We can put a big table here, and there'll be room for more. And so obviously they're planning for the future. Barry goes to see his dad in jail, and he's like, look, I got a real job. It's a crappy job, but it's a real job. It's an actual career path. And he's like, yay. Cyborg flies off from the cemetery, because evidently that's a fun place to hang out. Batman sees the bat signal. Diana goes back to the ancient Greek temple with the Artemis arrow. Barry's just running through the street like this, like an idiot for no reason. I mean, he's cute, but I'm like, I'm glad he's happy. I'm not trying to burst his bubble, but I'm just like, it looks like somebody running through a field of daisies, but he's in the middle of like Central City. And I'm like, I'm thinking of The Boys, that show The Boys from Amazon Prime, in which it started off with one of their superheroes who was super fast running through somebody and actually killing that person because he was running down the street and couldn't stop, and he ran through her and killed her. And so while Barry Allen's running like this, I'm like, you're gonna hit somebody. So I didn't really enjoy that as much as I could have, I guess. Thanks, Amazon Prime, for ruining that by The Boys. Just whatever. And then they show Superman walking around dressed up as Clark Kent, and then he like turns down an alley and pulls open a shirt to reveal the S. Then there's a quick cut to Gotham Asylum, and basically you find out that Lex Luthor has escaped. Then we see Lex Luthor on a luxury yacht, and Deathstroke shows up, and I know Deathstroke from the Arrow on CW, because I've been watching that on like Netflix. So I did at least make that connection. It's Deathstroke, right? Not Death Wish, Deathstroke. There's a dude there who's bad. He's like, why'd you bring me here? It's boring. And Lex Luthor's like, I know Batman's real name. It's Bruce Wayne. And the guy's like, well, that's cool. Give me some champagne. And they have a little toast. The next part is soups crazy, okay? And I have to admit, I get that there's a purpose. I'm one of these people that I'm like, oh, I like my happy ending. I like things to stop on the happy ending, which is ironic because it's not necessarily how I write. But I like to watch it. So there's a crazy nightmare sequence from Bruce Wayne that shows him in this post-apocalyptic world. And it's him and that Mira chick and Deathstroke and Flash and the Joker, of all people. And there are indications that Arthur and Lois are dead. Arthur's Aquaman. Aquaman and Lois are dead. And Lois's death is what's caused this post-apocalyptic world that somehow triggered the end of the world. And there are ships, there are parademons, and there are ships that look like Darkseid's ships. And it's just, I hate it. I mean, I'm like, we got a great ending, and now we got this, shoved in at the end. And I get it's like, again, building up that's what was going to be the Snyderverse, but I'm still like, and I hate the Joker. I hate that character. I've always hated Joker. I know that's not a popular opinion because he is like one of the most beloved DC villains for people who like Batman. I don't like the Joker. I never have. So, and then Jared Leto's Joker is like the worst possible version of the Joker on top of everything. So what are you going to do? So I hate this Joker. I hate this sequence. I'm not going to lie. Everything's stupid. Superman's bad. I don't like that. So Bruce wakes up. It's just a dream. Yay. But, he thinks he's having visions. So, and it could be. Who knows? So then he's like getting out of bed and he hears like the sound when Superman's flying somewhere really fast. That, and the guy shows up. It's that shapeshifter guy. And he's like, "What's up, dude? I'm going to be here to help you." And Bruce is like, "Cool, thanks. And what's your name?" And the guy's like, "I've been known by many names." And I'm like, "Yeah, like Martha. And you shouldn't have been known by Martha because that ruined that scene." Anyway, he says his name is Martian Manhunter. And this is important for the source material from what I can tell. I am not familiar. So, but I know some people were excited about that. And some people weren't. They didn't think, like I said, I watch other reviews just to see what other people thought against what I think, just for kicks and giggles, just like anybody. And one guy was like, "That was just, I don't like the way they did that." And I'm like, I don't know if I like it or not because I don't know anything about this guy. This is a very long recap. I get that, but it was a 4-hour movie. Okay, so cut me a little bit of slack. So let me give a quick overview of my thoughts about the movie. It was actually very awesome. I enjoyed it. I really did. I liked this so much better than the theatrical release. I really, really, really wish that this is what we had gotten. Maybe in a way it was a good thing though, because some of the stuff has come out about Whedon. It sounds like, his set was not a fun set to work on, and maybe that'll need it to come out. I don't know, but this was definitely the movie we should have gotten. We should have gotten this movie from Zack Snyder and not had that crazy theatrical release that really did not do justice to the Justice League. So there was just so much more to like about the Snyder Cut. It was really well done. And I think it was worth the subscription to HBO Max. But I got to be honest, probably not going to keep that subscription. I really just wanted to watch the Snyder Cut. Worth the money, worth the wait. It was very good. 4 hours was too long, in my opinion, even though 2 hours would have been too short. I think you probably could have trimmed at least half an hour, maybe a full hour off of this and still gotten a really decent movie, because there was just a lot of fat in there that didn't need to be there. Kind of like my waist, because I like pasta. But I'm not getting paid millions of dollars to make a movie either. So I'm going to keep eating the pasta. But the point is, the movie was kind of long. It didn't have to be so long. But it was very good. It's still worth it. I would still say watch it and just try to blot out your ears when those girls start singing when Aquaman leaves. Whoa. There was something that happened outside in real life in the social media world, which is only sort of real life, but really, okay, let me back up a little bit. So the movie came out on a Thursday on HBO Max. I signed up for HBO Max on like Wednesday. And then I had planned to watch it on Friday, but I'm like, it's going to get spoiled for me. And so on Thursday, I'm going to like avoid social media. And then I'm just going to watch it after work. And then I will just go straight to bed. And because I had to work the next day, and it'll be fine. I'll kind of start looking at stuff on Friday. So I watched the movie, basically went to bed, didn't look at social media. Friday, I got up. Now, this is not a political show. I got to say that again. This is not a political show. It's not a religious show. I am, however, myself conservative, and I am a Christian. So it is not, odd that I watch other content creators who are also conservatives or Christians. But I watch, conservative content creators that talk about video games and movies and stuff. And one of the groups that I like is Geeks and Gamers. And to my knowledge, not everybody in Geeks and Gamers is conservative, but some definitely are. Some of their hosts, it's like a group of hosts that do all their own shows, and then they're all like under one big umbrella. And I saw that they were going to have Zack Snyder on a live stream because they had decided to do a fundraiser to raise money for a charity that looks to prevent suicide and help with mental health issues, which Zack Snyder left the filming. To my understanding, Zack Snyder left the filming of the Justice League because his daughter committed suicide. So that was a terrible tragedy, and I'm still so sorry to hear that, and so sorry for his loss. I just can't even imagine that circumstance. So they're like, hey, let's do something nice. Let's try to raise money for this charity that is a charity that he endorses. So they announced that, and they announced that he was going to join them on a live stream that Thursday night. But that Thursday night, he jumped on their live stream. And at that point, they had raised about $60,000. And they were so excited he was going to be on their live stream. I mean, you could see it. They were so excited. They like did a little drum roll and they were, yay, here he comes. And the first thing he did was make this statement, well, the Geeks and Gamers logo is still up on the site, and I'm not actually affiliated with Geeks and Gamers. Okay, that's fair. I mean, that's kind of one of those disclaimers you have to give, I guess. I didn't find that too offensive. But then he went on this whole tirade about how he just wanted to also make sure everybody knew that we have to fight against hate. And there's been anti-Asian hate crimes and violence lately, and we need to fight against that. We all should, just like the movie, we need to be united. And, I just have to speak out against that, blah, blah, blah. And everybody's face just like fell. And I just thought, why did he feel the need to say that on this live stream? Is it because there are conservative content makers on this live stream? I noticed he didn't say it anywhere else that I could see. So the implication is that he had to say it because of who he was with. And I just thought that was so tasteless. It was so tasteless. That's a very diverse group, by the way. Like, they're not just diverse in their ethnicities, but they're diverse in thought, which, in my opinion, much more important. And I just thought, well, that's a nice how do you do when people have raised $60,000 already, which, for people who aren't like Hollywood elites, that's a heck of a lot of money. At the end of the day, they ended up raising over $100,000 for that charity. And they did it because they wanted to do something nice for him, but they also felt like it was a good cause. It was very honorable, in my opinion, of them to do it. And for him to come on there, it looked like somebody had just thrown cold water on him. Ugh, it's still making me mad. So rude. And I might have been born in Ohio, but I was raised down south. And we don't like rude here. We don't do it. And if you do, then shame on you. We don't like it down here. I really, really enjoyed the Snyder Cut. I enjoyed that movie. And when I saw that on Friday morning, it put such a damper on my enjoyment of that movie. It broke my heart for those content creators. I mean, like I said, they were so excited. You could see it on their faces, and then their faces just fell. It had to hurt their feelings. I mean, it just, why? Why? Rude. Don't like rude. And that's my Justice League review. So I hope you enjoyed that recap of every single little part of the movie. I did actually try to cut stuff out. I'm telling you, it was 4 hours. If you saw it, let me know your thoughts about whether I spot on with the daddy issues or the humor or lack of, or the crazy singing ladies with the sweater. It was just Weird, y'all. So I'm interested in your input, interested to hear your feedback. Let me know what you think in the comments. And of course, as always, please like, share, subscribe, all that stuff you should do on the internet for people that you support. And hang tight.